Hi, Jerry McGlothlin here with Shattering Stereotypes. Let me ask you a question. Would Jesus Christ, if he came in a normal dress without a big sign saying, I'm Jesus, if he were to walk into an average church today, would he get kicked out of a church? I'd say the answer is yes. And here's why. No robes, no title, just compassion in his eyes. And keep in mind, there's compassion for everybody, not just the typical in the box churchgoers. I think he would get kicked out, not because he'd sin, and not because his love would make a lot of religious people well, actually, it would. His love would make a lot of religious people uncomfortable. Now, I'm already making somebody uncomfortable here, but think about it. When Jesus came first, did he fit the mold? No. He touched lepers when everybody else crossed the street. He ate with tax collectors, spoke with women who nobody else would acknowledge. He healed on the Sabbath. And just to show that mercy mattered more than man made rules, he shattered stereotypes completely, obliterated them of what holiness looked like. All right. If he were to walk among us right now, I think he'd find a new group of modern lepers, the addicted, the divorced, the people who'd given up on church. And yes, people who identify themselves as non binary or transgender, even some who have had surgery. I mean, the hard right pretty much chastises people like that and thinks, oh no, they shouldn't do that. It's horrible. Yeah, we're spending so much time saying what's horrible and what's wrong, forgetting what we were like in tons of other ways before we got saved. In fact, we're doing worse today than before we were saved in many ways. Because before we were saved, we might have been sinning in the normal ways of the world, but now we sin in Christian ways, like a little gossip with a hyssop in it, a little bit of maybe pride or a little bit of lust in our heart. Lust is invisible. We think if people are spiritually attuned, they might be able to recognize somebody's lusting, or they might catch your eyeballs going wrong place. Okay, so we need to know that we are we are sinners as well. We're not without sin. So we cannot point fingers at somebody who's non-binary or somebody who's different than our stereotypical box. Now, some folks might whisper, they don't belong here. In fact, I went to a service recently that mentioned somebody by name, says, he doesn't belong here. Why doesn't he? He talked loud. Maybe he should be talk show host. But I believe if Jesus stood here in the flesh, and he's God incarnate, God in the flesh, never sinned. He is the closest thing we have to seeing God in the flesh is Jesus Christ. He'd open his arms wide and say, you belong to me. Let's start right where you are. Now remember, when he gets somebody caught in adultery or whatever else, he wouldn't say, go keep on sending up a storm, but he wouldn't shun them either. What did he say? After he had healed them, he would say, go and sin no more. Well, he neither acknowledged the sin is wonderful and there's nothing wrong with it, or nor did he shun them and say, you're kicked out forever. And for this, the religious type of people, the churchy type of people, could kind of bristle a little bit. Now, people could disagree about theology or surgery. Yeah, that's fine. But no one who truly follows Christ could disagree with this. Every person, repeat, every person deserves love. And how many times in political talk shows can you not find love? How many times you see criticism and we're better than conservatives, better than liberals, or this or that? No, where's the love? We're not proving who's right. We're all wrong. God's right. So no one who truly follows Christ can disagree that everyone deserves love. So if somebody's non-binary, welcome in the church. If somebody has got the persuasion for the same gender, well, welcome in the church. And guess what? Pretty soon they'll see the love and they'll have a different way of life. And even if they don't, still love them. Love doesn't always mean agreement. I got to make that clear. But it always means presence. It means seeing the image of God before seeing the issue. It means touching the leper before quoting the law or church rules. If a church shuts its doors to anybody that Jesus himself, to people coming inside of it, no matter how much they disagree with them, then they're not acting like the church. They're not acting like Christ. Look at Charlie Kirk, for instance. He would talk to anybody. You just say, hey, prove me wrong. Maybe kind, he'd be nice. He'd talk to them. And sometimes they'd agree with them, and sometimes they would change. But it didn't matter. He still loved them. And that's sparking a revolution right now in young people where they're seeing the love again. Before they saw legalism or maybe religion, now they're seeing the love. And that's the beginning of revival. I love it. Now, the gospel was never about gatekeeping. It's always been about grace. So, yeah, maybe Christ would still get kicked out of a few sanctuaries today. I'm sure he would, but he'd still probably start a revival in the parking lot. This has been Shattering Stereotypes. Let's make love louder than labels, and let's build spaces where Jesus would feel right at home in our midst, in our church, or in our home. If this stirred you at all, share this, send it with somebody, and together we can shatter stereotypes and help make the world see what is real, especially real love.